morning and happy Sabbath to everyone.
Good morning.
So I was just going about a normal day yesterday when Pastor Okram called me and said that he would have to travel for an emergency, and he asked if I was able to prepare something, and I said, so as you all know, tomorrow is supposed to be Mother's Day,
Yes.
and yeah, a lot of people are ordering cards and gifts, I'm sure, for their mothers. I have a story about a woman named Stephanie Decker, who lived in a very small town called Henrysville in Indiana. And she was going about a normal day one day with her two children, her 8-year-old son, who is named Dominic, and her 5-year-old daughter, Reese. So Dominic and Reese, her two children. And they were going about a normal day, playing, having some fun. The husband was away for work. And as they were going about their day, the mother, Stephanie, she was looking outside and she saw something very unusual. She saw very strong winds beginning to move some of the furniture outside. And this was heavy furniture, trampolines, and other farm equipment. And as she was looking at what was happening, she realized something, which was that this was the indication that there might be a tornado. You all know what a tornado is, right? It's something very dangerous. It can destroy entire towns and villages. And she immediately decided she needed to take her children to safety. And so they went into the basement within the house, and she told the kids, get into a corner and cover your heads and hide. And they were hoping and praying that the tornado would not become very strong and that it would eventually just subside. But as they were waiting, everything started shaking, and they were able to see dust falling from the ceiling of the basement. And slowly it was getting worse and worse. And can you imagine being in that situation where the entire house is beginning to shake, and you are with your children, your family within a basement, right? Imagine ourselves here. What if there is a massive storm going on outside? How would we feel in that situation? We would all be very scared for our lives. And so, as the tornado was picking up speed, Stephanie realized there was only one thing she could do to protect her children. She went and she covered her children with her own body as things started collapsing within the basement. And eventually it was becoming so severe, the storm, that a 30-foot piece of the house collapsed on top of them. And it crushed the mother's legs completely. But despite having her body being crushed, she still covered her children so that they wouldn't get any damage or any type of injury. And eventually, when the storm subsided, they were able to rush Stephanie to the hospital. But unfortunately, she ended up losing both of her legs. They had to amputate her legs. But her children did not get any injuries because of her protection. And so when she was asked in an interview later on, Stephanie, what was going through your mind in that situation? She simply said, I did what any mother would do in that situation. I protected my family, my children. And so the example of Stephanie in this extreme situation, it's what parents, it's what mothers always do to protect their families. And this is a very severe case that we see. But there are countless examples of a mother's love every day, where she is making sacrifices for her own family. And so, what does the Bible say about mothers? But before we get to that, what does research say about the importance of mothers? I'm sure we all know a lot of different things, but let's take a look at some of the scientific research that has been done. So, modern research confirms the importance of mothers on the development of children and on the stability of the entire family. Studies show that a mother's emotional responsiveness is directly linked to a child's cognitive development, which means that if a mother is not present in a child's life, that child will have more difficulties with their mental and cognitive development. It also helps to secure greater resilience and better social skills. It's important for emotional development of children as well. And the University of Minnesota did a 30-year study which found that the early care that a child receives, it impacts how well they do in school, how ready they are for school and for academic success. And obviously, this will also lead into their later on lives when they enter the workplace. And neuroscience reveals that when a mother has a positive interaction with her children, it releases oxytocin for both of the participants, the mother and the child. And oxytocin helps develop the brain, the neural pathways, for forming healthy relationships with everyone. So the relationship that a child has with his mother, that relationship impacts how that child will have other relationships within his life, right? And it leads into adulthood, obviously, how you deal with your own spouse later on when you get married. And the Harvard study of adult development found that maternal relationship also predicts midlife health. So midlife is when you're getting a bit older, 30s and 40s. And so all of these scientific studies, they confirm what we all have known for a long time, that there is a lot of importance of a mother's presence in her child's life. So we've looked at the scientific studies on the importance of motherhood. How about the Bible? What does the Bible say? The Bible is full of examples of important mothers. One important example is Jochebed, which is Moses' mother. And we read about her in Exodus chapter 2. And I'm going to read from Exodus 2, 1 to 3. Here it says, "Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile." So we're all familiar with the story of Moses and his mother hiding him from Pharaoh when Pharaoh was going around and trying to kill all of the children, right? So what does this story teach us about motherhood? It teaches how a mother will find some way to protect her child, no matter what the situation is. And she was also willing to distance herself from the child for the child's own safety, right? And in the background, she continued to be a part of the child's life. Next, we read about Hannah, which was Samuel's mother. In Samuel 1, 10 to 11, we read, "In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. And she made a vow, saying, 'Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head.'" And then in Samuel 1, 27 to 28, we read, "I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord, for his whole life will be given over to the Lord." What did we learn about Hannah in this situation? We learned that she prayed to God for a child, and when God gave her her wish, she dedicated this child back to God, right? And so she valued this child's life and development, and she dedicated him to the Lord. There is another example that we can read of in Proverbs 31. So there is a woman that is described in Proverbs 31. In Proverbs 31, verse 10, it says, "A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. She gets up while it's still night. She provides food for her family. and portions for her female servants. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of the household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her. So in this scripture, we learn that this woman, right, she is a mother. And she takes care of her family. She is not lazy. There is no idleness within her. She gets up at night. She provides for her family. And because of her, her whole family is blessed. And her family also calls her that she is blessed, right, and praises her. And then finally, the last example we can look at is Mary, who was Jesus' mother. In Luke 1, verse 38, we read, "I am the Lord's servant," Mary answered. "May your words to me be fulfilled." And in Luke 2, verse 19, "But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart." And then finally in Acts 1:14, "They all joined together constantly in prayer, along with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brothers." And so the example of Mary is more unique, but it still paints a picture of a mother, right? Because Mary was still a mother in the sense of the worldly mother that Jesus had. But what we can learn about her is that she was always in prayer. She was always praying. And her mind was always on higher things, on things of spirituality. And her focus was on God, not only on the things of the world. So, the God in the Bible that we worship, he is often given a masculine father figure, right? But there are also many maternal qualities that are associated with God. If we look at Isaiah 49, verse 15, we read, "Can a woman forget her nursing child and not have compassion on the son of her womb? Surely they may forget, yet I will not forget you." So this is God speaking to the people, and he is comparing himself to a mother, right? He is saying that even maybe a mother, can she forget her child? Surely they may forget, but I will not forget you. In Isaiah 63, verse 13, we read, "As one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Jerusalem." In Deuteronomy 32, 11 to 12, we read, "As an eagle stirs up its nest, hovers over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, carrying them on its wings, so the Lord alone has led them. There was no foreign god with him." So God guided his people just like a mother, just like an eagle caring for its young children. And in Psalm 131, verse 2, we read, "Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child, my soul is within me." Right? So it shows that our relationship with God is almost like a mother-child relationship. We can go to God just like we go to our mothers. And God cares for us just like his children, just like a mother cares. And so, a mother's love provides a very powerful glimpse of God's love for us, God's perfect love. And the story of Stephanie Decker that I shared in the beginning, it reflects Jesus sacrificing his own life for us, just like she was willing to sacrifice her life to save her children. And a mother's persistent prayers mirror God's daily intercession. A mother will pray daily for her family, for her children, just like God continuously takes care of his own people. And a mother's comfort also demonstrates God's promise to us, God's comfort for us. And so, for all of us, our first idea of unconditional love, we can only get that from one person, from our mothers. And the same unconditional love is shown by God for us, for his children. And so, as we celebrate Mother's Day tomorrow, we can reflect on God's love for us as well, and how God has blessed us all with mothers, and demonstrates his love for us through our earthly mothers as well. Let's close with a prayer. God, thank you for blessing us with mothers who take care of us throughout our entire lives and love us unconditionally, just as you love us unconditionally.
Yes.
And just as you were willing to give your son's life to die for us, our mothers also make daily sacrifices for us. Continue to bless our mothers and our families, and be with us in the coming week, Lord, as we continue to study your word. We ask and receive in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.